All right, welcome back to the KFYR Plus News Desk. And the weather is warm, and for many of us, that means it's time to do some traveling, including trips overseas. Of course, international travel means that you have some extra planning to do before taking off. What to take, what not to take, and are there any vaccines needed for where I'm going? A smooth trip will start with a good checklist. And joining me right now to help us prep for a great summer travel experience is Dr. Amy Lynn Safety, Pharmacy District Leader for CVS Pharmacy. Dr. Safety, thank you so much for your time this morning.
Hi, good morning. Thanks for having me.
Well, Dr. Safety, what are the first things that we should put on our to-do list now if we plan to travel abroad coming up this summer?
Yeah, so if you are planning on traveling, I know everyone's first thing to do is think about planning the flights, the hotel, and your dinner reservations, but you really also have to prioritize your health. So it's really important to make an appointment with your healthcare provider at least 4 to 6 weeks before you take off on your trip. And that's for a couple of different reasons. So firstly, you want to make sure you have enough of your prescription medications in stock. You will need enough medication to cover not only just your entire trip, but also a few extra days to make sure, just in case if you have any travel delays. And then secondly, you need to make sure if you're due for any vaccines that might be required for traveling into different countries.
How do we check to see if we need any vaccines if we're traveling abroad?
So the best place to look is the CDC website. So they do break down every list by country and destination. So you can see which vaccines are required in order to travel there and which ones are recommended based on current events and different things that might be going on within that country.
What are some of the potential risks of traveling without our recommended vaccinations?
So unfortunately, if you do not have a required vaccination to get into a country, that's very quite possible that you will be denied admittance into that country. So it's important every country has different regulations and restrictions. So if there is a required vaccine and you do not have it, they have the ability to not allow you to disembark into that country. So it is important to carry your vaccination record with you and keep it on hand. So that way, if you are traveling somewhere that does have a requirement, that you have that list on your person and you're good to go. That way you don't run into any problems.
What kind of medical checklist should I make to bring items from home?
So it's really important when you are traveling to think of things that you might be using on the day-to-day basis. And if you need to have those with you when you are abroad, a lot of the things we keep in our medicine cabinet might be easily accessible to us here, but you might have a hard time finding them when you're overseas. So it's a good idea to have simple things like ibuprofen and acetaminophen in case you get a headache while you're overseas. Also, I always like to recommend that patients pack antihistamines for allergies and nasal decongestants. So when you're traveling, you might be exposed to different climates, different plants, different types of pollen that are out there. So it might trigger some allergy symptoms. And when you're sitting on a long flight, you're more likely to get your ears clogged, your nose stuffy. So having that nasal decongestant really could help to make sure you aren't feeling under the weather while you're traveling.
Dr. Safety, how has COVID-19 pandemic changed the landscape of travel vaccines?
So that really just depends on each country does have different requirements and different recommendations. I know now that patients and Americans are looking to travel and get out of their homes more as we're, 5 years post-pandemic. That's why we're going to be experiencing a high travel summer this year. So I think it is definitely changing the way people think about travel. People might have been more hesitant in the past to travel, but now that we do have things have been changing and with different vaccines available to us, it definitely is a safer time to be able to go out and travel and get to experience their time off with their families.
Are there any specific items that travelers should avoid taking with them?
So when you are traveling, not necessarily to avoid, but I would recommend when you're packing things like your medications, your prescription medications, please do not put them in your checked baggage. It happens far too often that bags get lost and then you're without your necessary medications that you need on a daily basis. So I really recommend that you take all your medications in the original medication bottles and keep them on your person in your carry-ons. That way you don't run into problems later on.
Okay, and where can our viewers now get more information on travel, health, and safety if they're planning a summer trip?
So if you're looking for more information, you can visit the CDC website to get all the list of the vaccines that may be required for your travel. And to make those vaccine appointments, you can visit cvs.com.
Perfect. Dr. Amy Lynn Safety, thank you so much for the insight this morning. Sure appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
You got it. All right, 6 minutes after the top of the hour. Quick break here at the news desk. We're back with local news next on KFYR Plus.